Hi, everybody. Welcome to the online Bible study for Sunday, March the 5th. We're checking out the first parable in Matthew chapter 20, which I will read now. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers. Oh, sorry, this is a slow page turn for me. I'll start again, and I'll say that this is the New Revised Standard Version, because that's my beloved childhood Bible here. For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for the usual daily wage, he sent them into his vineyard. When he went out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right." So they went. When he went out again about noon and about 3 o'clock, he did the same. And at about 5 o'clock, he went out and found others standing around, and he said to them, "Why are you standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard." When evening came, the owner said to his manager, "Call the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and then going to the first." When those hired about 5 o'clock came, each of them received the usual daily wage. Now when the first came, they thought they would receive more. But each of them also received their usual daily wage. And when they received it, they grumbled against the landowner, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last the same as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or are you envious because I am generous? So the last will be first, and the first will be last." I'll confess that I'm a little bit late in getting to this video reflection. I was hoping to do it this afternoon and something came up, and then earlier this evening and something came up, and I was going to start this video with an apology to say, I'm sorry this video is coming to you later than usual. Hopefully not much later than usual. We'll see how the posting it goes. But I thought it was actually a little on theme, So I will not yet apologize for that, though if it was an inconvenience, I do apologize for that. I don't know about you, but sometimes an experience of lateness can be a place of anxiety for me. One of the ways some people in my family process their anxiousness about stuff is to show up just like really absurdly early for stuff. And I have taken that as my own practice sometimes too. And so when I'm late for something and someone is gracious and kind, there's a whole level of challenge to my belief system about what makes me a good person there. And it's such a good gift. I also, when I reflect on this scripture, I can't help but think of my favorite sermon ever, I think. St. John Chrysostom, so the St. John Chrysostom Easter sermon. I think even if you can't spell Chrysostom, you can probably Google something close and it'll come up. It's really remarkable. And let me know if you can't find it. But it's not long, and it's kind of this extended, beautiful rant on, or riff on God's grace and who's welcome at the table of God. And there's a piece about if you kept a good Lent. It's very kind of seasonally appropriate. If you've kept a good Lent, if you've kept the fast faithfully, come, feast at this joyful banquet. If you haven't, come, if you're late, if you've come even at the 5th hour. And I always imagine John Chrysostom there in wherever he was preaching at. My church history is not that good. Seeing someone coming in mid-sermon and saying, yeah, you there, even now, like, come in, join the celebration of this Easter, of this resurrection, of this grace that we share, this love that we share. So I'm curious what it's like for you to read this story. What comes up for you? Do you find yourself identifying with one or the other groups of laborers, or maybe with the generous landowner himself? And then I'll say, for me, another thing that comes up is my the times when my ministry has intersected with labor justice. Most recently here in Bellingham, I've gotten to come out and picket a couple of times for the Starbucks workers. But quite a few times, especially in Chicago, I got to work. Sometimes it's helpful for labor unions to have, a white dude-looking person in a clergy collar show up and just be around or keep an eye on things or, run interference with the police. And when I was in seminary, I got to intern with the San Lucas Day Labor Center in Chicago. And that was, there was another worker center that worked with agricultural workers, like the ones in this story. But this was folks who worked for, what's the language? There's better language for this, but they're like day labor agencies. And so you show up, and at 5 or 6 in the morning, they send you out to work, usually in a factory, but sometimes in some other setting, construction sometimes. And the worker center that I worked for organized mostly undocumented folks and ex-offenders, folks who had recently or a long time ago been imprisoned. And both of those groups were so vulnerable. It's so fascinating to me that this parable is about day labor specifically. Oftentimes that's folks who kind of fell out of some other workforce or were driven out of some other workforce by economic or political factors. Sometimes, in a lot of economies anyway, day labor can be a labor of last resort. And so there's a desperation that I imagine in the folks that are still there in the marketplace at 5 p.m. Maybe they've given up for the day, but maybe they don't have another place to go, and they need to bring home that little bit of money for food or rent. So I don't know what that says about this parable, that the kingdom of heaven is like this landowner that pays the last just like the first. But I wonder what that piece of it invites you into. Is there some piece of labor justice that arises for you in this story? Is there some piece of surprising grace that arises for you in this story? Or does it just raise some rich and delightful questions, as our parable friends so often do? Well, thank you for listening to this short reflection. Thank you for hearing and letting me tell this beautiful story from the Gospel of Matthew. I look forward to reflecting on it a bit over the course of the week with y'all, and sharing about it some more in worship this coming Sunday. Blessings to you wherever you're at and however late you're arriving. Peace.